Hello fellows, how you doing? It's Rami, and in today's video it's gonna be basically a continuation of my last video from where I left off, and I was saying and speaking basically about the truth about my fears and insecurities and my phobias and my frustration, all this sort of negative stuff. And as I mentioned earlier, that it's always been dark to talk about this stuff. It's always been shameful, it's always humiliated me right down to the core of my soul. I've never been actually comfortable talking about it and explaining it. I've never been enthusiastic about it, passionate. No, sorry, I've always been passionate about explaining negative stuff. Not because I like negativity. I'm not into negativity, and I never criticized anyone who's negative. But I always find it quite. It pulls me out of alignment when I'm negative and complaining. I'm talking about dark stuff. It pulls me out of alignment always. It's always been the case, so don't get me wrong. So this time, when I'm saying about negativity, I'm speaking about my personal experience and what I went through as a young kid, and what I had, all the work I had to do on myself to improve my self-esteem, to improve my confidence, to improve myself as a person, to become a man, to man up basically, to become the best and most powerful version of myself basically, which I always set out to be the best at it and to excel at it, which has always been great, and I always get a lot of joy out of it when I'm being myself and when I'm living a complete honest life, a life of integrity, integral living. I mean, being indulged in integral living an honest life, creating a beautiful reality, creating an amazing life. I always get a lot of joy out of it. I always feel a lot more secure when I do that. Of course I get insecurities and doubts just like everyone else does, so it's pretty normal, it's pretty understandable. Some days I fall out of feeling secure into a very insecure place, a negative place, a place of hate, a place of jealousy, a place of anger, and whatever, and all the rest of it, all these type of negative emotions. I feel bad, I feel awful, but the good thing about myself is as soon as I get these feelings and these thoughts, I can manage to pull myself back out of it and align myself to consciousness, to my higher self, which has always been great, and which I'm always been extremely proud of. Sorry, let me get the camera right. Extremely proud of, being aware of myself and developing enough self-awareness to get indulged pretty much in self-awareness and in self-observation, which is highly important. It's always been that way to me personally. It's always been important for me to observe myself on a regular and consistent basis, to see to spot on all the shadows that come up, so to speak. And what do I mean by the shadows? All the negative sides that we despise in ourselves. All the jealousy, the hatred, the anger, the self-hate, the self-sabotaging. What else is there? And watching pornography is one of the things that, really sabotages our whole self-esteem, and it makes you more and more insecure, and it opens you up to a very fucked up psychology. Sorry for my language, I've always been passionate when I'm speaking. It gets you insecure, it makes you feel jealous, it exposes all the dark sides of yourself. So one of the things that I had to work on is quitting my addictions. I was pretty much throughout my whole life an addict. I was an addict to negativity, I was an addict to jealousy, I was an addict to anger, I was an addict to speaking bad about people behind their back, and I didn't enjoy living that life. It was a complete lie. I was being a fraud, I wasn't being myself. I wasn't acting from a place of truth, and I wasn't acting from a place of honesty and integrity. I was being a complete fraud, a person that I never wanted to be deep down. I was asleep. I had no one around me to tell me that I needed to wake up and I needed to start observing myself and seeing all the negative sides of myself and get myself exposed to therapy, to counseling. And I had no money on me. I wanted to do some counseling. I wanted to go to a counselor. I wanted to do some therapy, expose myself to therapy, to counseling, all this sort of stuff. But I was financially insecure. I wasn't financially secure, sorry. I wasn't financially secure enough. And I ended up feeling more frustration as soon as every time I thought about not being secure financially and struggling with my finances. A lot of people did struggle with their finances, so I wasn't I absolutely wasn't the only one. I felt worthless, and I started feeling more frustration, and I was buying into a very negative story, a very negative view of the self. I was viewing myself in a very negative way. I wasn't viewing myself in a positive way. So as I was doing that, I knew that I wasn't being authentic. I wasn't being who I am. The truth about my fears and insecurities is I've always been frightened of people, as I've always said. I always felt scared once got exposed to social interactions, and I didn't grow confidence, and I didn't challenge my fears, and I did nothing to improve myself as a man and to try to get rid of my social anxiety, or at least reduce it to a manageable level. I never did anything of that sort. So I was living like a fraud, which it sounds harsh to say that, to live like a fraud. It sounds too graphic, and it's very uncomfortable when you know yourself that you're living a complete lie and you're not living authentically. You haven't connected to your authentic self. You haven't observed yourself. You haven't worked on yourself hard enough. And when you know this reality, when you are aware of it on a conscious level, when you're aware that you're not living integrally, when you're aware that you're